we're live.
Oh, there we go.
StreamYard said they were backed up, but we are here anyway. Welcome in to Fourth and Wrong, the daily college football podcast. We are here on a Thursday, May 16th, 8:30. We had a special start time because we have a special episode tonight with a special guest we'll get to in a second. Before we get to him, do me a favor and like and subscribe, all that stuff on our YouTube page. It would be super helpful to me and Tyler and the show and all that good stuff. It's been a really good start for the first month or so. We've got some really good content coming on, and the daily show has been fun as well. We are joined now by a very special guest who gets the name of our podcast wrong every time I'm on his show, but I won't do that to him. He's on Locked Up and Abroad, SEC football on the – no, I'm kidding. LockedOn SEC, one of my favorite people. Chris Gordy, how are you, man?
What's up, man? Yeah, good to be here. I also like how you said 8:30 because you just assume that, everybody lives in the stupid East Coast and about, 70% of the SEC is in the Central time zone. So, yeah, get with it. It's always funny, though, because when I preview games, typically what I do is I give the time zone that the game is in. So if it's in Athens, I say it's Eastern. If it's in Tuscaloosa, Auburn, Baton Rouge, wherever.
Yeah. What is the breakdown of that now, to be honest?
Well, Texas and Oklahoma are both in the Central time zone, so we just added 2 more Centrals. So
Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. Kentucky. Is Tennessee in the East? Tennessee's in the East.
Wait, hang on. Let me check. I always forget on Knoxville. I think it's
not. I don't know where Lexington is.
Yes, Knoxville is Eastern, but Nashville is Central, right?
Right. So Knoxville, Gainesville, Athens, Columbia. I don't know where Lexington is. Is Lexington Central? Your wife would know that, right?
It's Eastern.
Eastern, that's 5 out of 16. So quick, off the top of my head, that is about 31.8%.
Good God. Pretty good. Where'd you go to school?
Oh, it was 31.3%. Georgia College, State University. Anyway, listen, this is a special episode. I changed shirts for the first time in like 2 weeks. I was starting to tell people I was just in my Josh Pate era and I was just only going to wear a couple shirts. But I just really, honestly, it's hot as hell outside. I've got this lovely Target getup I've been rocking for quite some time. But you do have some nice bottles on the shelf. So what is that?
It's like the scoreboard thing, but it like makes me go out of focus sometimes. Oh. But it's called a tidbit. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, so I've already thrown out the idea of the show, and hold on. Let me make sure we're getting here. Please and thank you. Okay. The stake of this show, right? The heart of it, the majority of what we're going to talk about is pretty much one of our go-to things. Creed songs. It's the 16th, so I think that we're like 64 days from media days, which means I am like, I think 69 days until Creed, the Creed concert. Me and my buddy Brian Groom's going, so I'm pretty pumped about that. We're going to compare SEC teams, coaches, players, whatever, to Creed songs. That should be a lot of fun. Tell us in the comments what we should be, some of the comparisons you guys have come up with as well. And then we are going to talk a little bit about ranking the week 1 to week 3 games. What the hell is this? That ESPN released right off the bat, real quick, Gordy. Were you as upset or angry about the new logo?
No, I think it's pretty cool. It's like a shield with like SEC on ABC, and it almost, with the lighting behind it, almost looks like it's in the same universe as the Monday Night Football logo.
That's fair.
So yeah, I thought it was cool. Now, I did laugh my ass off when CBS announced their first Big Ten on CBS game is going to be Notre Dame at Purdue, and I'm like, yeah, good luck getting people excited for that one. Like Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler, I haven't heard. I assume they're both back, but they're going to.
I think so.
Like, you're literally going to hear the. Here we are.
They did last year. They had Ohio State at Indiana, and it was like they were feeling it out. It was before an SEC game. I think they did like a triple header or something like that. It was a 12:00 game and then the 3:30 SEC game. But it was like, and I'm pretty sure Gary and Brad were on the Big Ten one, and it was like Ohio State at Indiana, which is god awful. To say the least. But anyway, I didn't think it was as bad as everyone made it out to be. I'll just say that.
People people are really upset over it's a logo. Who cares?
Dude, it's the internet. People are upset about everything.
Well, I'll say this though, the biggest change, and I don't think a whole lot of people realize this, but like for the past 20 plus years, like the game of the week in the SEC has always been 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern on CBS.
Yeah.
And now that game is going in the 6:30 Central,
Yeah.
7:30 Eastern ABC slot. So like we're gonna have way more night game, like Georgia and Bama and all these schools that have been so conditioned to have all these damn 2:30, 3:30 games every week. You're gonna have way more night games now. If you're playing marquee opponents because they want the prime game on ABC.
How long do you think it takes SEC fans to bitch about that? Because like I'll give you my take on, like, and I'm just using this. I'm not saying it's because this fan base, whatever, but Georgia fans, they hadn't had a night game in like 2 years. They had a ton of 12 o'clock starts, and it was ridiculous, especially when it was like during their run where they were like they had won back-to-back natties. And they were just begging for night games. And I think they got 2 at least last year. And there's like big ones, right? It was like Kentucky, and I think they got Ole Miss as well. But like, I'll say this: when I was growing up, we had season tickets to Bama, and we would go from Atlanta to Bama, and it was always cool to have a night game. It was sick, right? It was like, 7 o'clock start, the lights, like you're under the lights, lock the gates, like let's fucking go. But then like getting out of an SEC stadium, not everyone's just walking to like downtown or like somewhere local, right? Like you're like traffic is going to be a nightmare in some of those places. So I think it'll be funny. I think it's just the nature of fans in general. It's like it won't take that long for them to start complaining about it.
Yeah, no doubt. But again, it's like at least you're going to get a full day of tailgating. You're going to get a full day of student sections getting liquored up, and it's what's funny is you say somebody going to bitch. Well, we're still like the best SEC game will be at 6:30 at night. The second best game is still going to get that 2:30 time slot. Right out of the gates. We know opening weekend, Miami, Florida is getting the 2:30 time slot. So yeah, like the second best game is going to get that time slot still. So it's just going to be a flipperoo. It used to be like if you were the second best game, you'd be ESPN or SEC Network that night. Instead, you're going to go to the afternoons. The best game's going to go tonight.
Yeah. Well, either way, it should be interesting. I just got a text from my girlfriend that says you are talking about traffic like an old man. So she's not wrong about that. Seamless transition since she messaged me. I want to get your thoughts on women's vocations and what they should be doing with their lives from the Harrison Butker. I'm kidding. We're not going to talk about that at all.
Well, I just want to, as someone whose wife makes way more than I do and gets raises all the time. Look, I chose a life in sports talk radio and podcasting, so she is definitely the breadwinner, and I'm cool with that. I still wear pants. I'm still wearing pants around the house. I'm still the man, but she makes more money, and there's nothing wrong with that in the year of our Lord 2024.
I wear pantsuits, so that's a different story for another time. But anyway, okay. Anyway, so here's what we're talking about. Like real quick, let's talk about the early games that we saw. I just want to like rate your excitement. Give me like on a scale out of 1. You know what? Fuck it. We're not gonna do 1 to 10. We'll do 1 to 69. You tell me your excitement level for these games that they have just now announced. Let's see here. I'm going to announce. So that Friday, I believe, or Thursday is North Dakota State, Colorado. What's your excitement level for that? And we can also go 1 through 10 if you want.
Well, I mean, it's interesting just because it's standalone, right? I mean, there's very few games going on that day, and it's our first glimpse on, Shador and Travis Hunter are supposed to be first round picks and all that. Like, this is our first early glimpse at that, and this is a stat pattern game. Like, they should put up a bunch of yards and points and all that kind of stuff. And we did. I'm sure we'll touch on it later, but the NCAA football video game, they revealed the official cover today, and it is Travis Hunter front and center. And I think a lot of people, I think your average college football fan may still not know who he is because he was hurt for so much last year. Yeah, I think people know Shador, but like, if you saw a picture of Travis Hunter, could you pick him out of a lineup? Are you that familiar with him?
No.
I just think a lot of people are.
Here's the thing, Gordy. Like, I view it in a different way, where I think I don't think you're wrong. I'm saying I think that Travis Hunter was the number 1 player in the country coming out of high school, and if it wasn't even for that, I wouldn't be able to pick out who was the kid last year that went to Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith. I probably wouldn't be able to pick him out, but number 1 player in the country coming out of high school, coming out of Collins Hill, same region as where I went to school at Parkview. then having the fact that he had this like very viral moment where he chose Jackson State on signing day, I feel like the above average fan probably could tell. But here's the other thing too with Colorado fans. A majority of Colorado fans are either Dion fans or excited because they like sports, and it's like more the I'll say, what's the best way to put this? They're more of the sport fan that loves the ESPN morning show type situation. And it's just like, you know, they want to have takes, they want to talk about stuff without doing a ton of research. So it's more of a casual thing. But I mean, I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, I just again, it's if this were a game being played on Saturday afternoon, we'd have no interest in it. It's fun because it's early and it's our first glimpse of Dion in Colorado.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what's the rating? What'd you give it?
It was out of 69.
Yeah, you did out of 10. It doesn't matter.
14.
Really?
Out of 69.
Honestly, I think you're gonna end up being more excited for that one because let me tell you why. It's on a Thursday night, right? Like, and it's also weird that Jackson State plays too. Thursday night, 8 p.m. That's the start of like the first weekend of football, right? You also get UNC at Minnesota that day, which is somewhat interesting. There's nothing else on the slate. How about this? Let's go back for a half second. Any interest in Florida State versus Georgia Tech in Dublin?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was just in Dublin a year ago at this time, and everywhere we went, you know, there was Notre Dame stuff everywhere. And I'm like, oh, the cliche, right? And they're like, no, Notre Dame's going to come play here.
Yeah.
Who did they play? Was it Boston College or somebody that they opened? Yeah, they played week 0 over there. And everybody I've talked to, by all accounts, said it was awesome. And then a story came out today that LSU and Brian Kelly are apparently exploring LSU wanting to go play in Ireland. So it's a cool deal. I mean, with the time difference, it ends up being an early game here. I like that they've been doing them kind of as the week 0. So yeah, so I think it's a good one because Georgia Tech's been a little bit like arrow pointed upward, right? Like on the come up.
Like I tried to do this last week, and Moscona was like, "Why the fuck are you talking about Georgia Tech?" And I was like, "I like Georgia Tech." And he's like, "No one likes Georgia Tech. Like it's not." It had hands down the fewest views we've had on any show since we started. But no, I think you're right. And listen, Florida State's got a lot they're replacing. They got like 6 Bama players. For me, there's a ton of storylines. I'll say that.
DJU, right?
Yeah, DJU's gonna be the quarterback there. How about this Friday night? This one kind of pissed me off because it's like I love that first weekend. You get Thursday through Sunday. A lot of good stuff there. But you get on Friday, you get TCU and Stanford is and it's a 10:30 start. Like that sucks. Getting into the main stuff on Saturday though, right? You talked about this.
I just want to say that Thursday we get an early look because I'm an SEC honk. I watch all the SEC games. Arkansas plays Arkansas Pine Bluff. Mizzou plays Murray State. I get there's no much interest there, but these are the games to one. We get our first glimpse of Bobby Petrino and Taylor Green, the new quarterback from Boise coming over to Arkansas. What does that look like? And 2 for Mizzou, Brady Cook back and Luther Burden. Like if Luther Burden is going to be the Heisman conversation against Murray State, this is a game where he could easily have 85 yards, 2 touchdowns, and be benched by halftime, and we move forward. So it's 2 crappy opponents, but they are playing on the Thursday night, starting off the college football weekend, and with a crappy slate of games, why not get an early scouting report on a couple of SEC?
No, Arkansas especially. That is something I'll watch. All right, so going into Saturday, we've got. Let's see here. Vandy opens with Virginia Tech. That's interesting. How awesome would that be to have Vandy open with a win? I'll tell you this real quick on Vandy. We're not going to get – they won't, but like – and Virginia Tech is going to be better this year. But like it would be awesome as like a flex from the conference to have your first Power 5 versus Power 5 game of the year featuring the SEC be a dub against Virginia Tech coming from Vandy. Clemson, Georgia Tech is at noon. Miami, Florida at 3:30.
Wait, you said Clemson, Georgia Tech. It's Clemson, Georgia.
I said Georgia. Yeah, Clemson, Georgia at noon.
I think you're an Atlanta guy. Like it sucks that game's 11 a.m. Like you would think you'd want to at least hang out, maybe tailgate, maybe you walk around a little bit. Like 11, you leave the hotel, you go right to the game.
Who cares? I don't get it. Are Clemson fans going to get wild before the game? No, I mean,
on that. I mean, Georgia's like a 2-touchdown favorite. I'm like, are we really thinking Clemson's going to be that bad?
Yes, I think Georgia's going to whip their ass, dude. I think that is going to be yeah. Evan stole the line from me. I think it's going to be a bloodbath, man. Because, like, here's the thing. I think that Clemson has sat here and Dabo has really, really continued to put himself behind the 8 ball. And maybe Clemson fans still love him for it, but it's like, dude, like what is it? They're not going to win that game. They're not going to beat Georgia.
No, but it could be close. I mean, it's a 13-point spread. You know, like 20, let's say 31-21. Like, it could be something like that.
If Cade Klubnik he throws a touchdown pass. Who's he throwing that touchdown pass to?
Let's see. Who do they?
What, if they score on offense and it's not Cade Klubnik running it in, who is scoring the touchdown? Don't look it up.
No. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, they got a new running back. They got new receivers. Yeah. I mean, look, maybe there's not a lot of household names on Clemson, but
yeah.
Hey, look, as Dabo said, brother, we don't need the transfer portal. I mean, we got a whole group of transfers coming in. It's just they're coming from high school to the college ranks, right? That's our transfer class.
The worst thing. We talked about that last night. I will tell you this. The thing that why I will never buy into Clemson anymore is I did a deep dive on this before the 2021 Georgia game. The lack of recruiting and development at elite level, even really honestly, even at a good level on the offensive line for Clemson is terrible. I do get what you're saying.
I want to thank you. I'm like, I know my crap through and through with the SEC, but you asked me about Clemson's roster, who I had barely even looked at this offseason. So
why would you?
Thanks for that.
I did see somebody post a thing with their roster yesterday. I don't care how this sounds because it's my show, and I think comedy's coming back, and maybe canceling is not going to be as big of a deal. But there's 24 whites on that roster, and that is too many whites. Their roster looks like. You've done this as a married man. I had to do this one time. But, like, when you go pick out white paint with the missus and you go in and you're like, hey, here's duck white, off-white, eggshell white. Like what? I mean, it is that entire team is like the level of white between Michelle Branch and Vanessa Carlton. I don't know the difference between the two, but it's everywhere.
Well, my wife went to Kentucky, and so, you know, we've been looking at all these players that Mark Pope is bringing into Kentucky, and I joked with her. I said, when he said bring back the glory days, I didn't think he meant like the 1920s. You have all white kids. Kentucky can't win with all white kids. Like, what are you doing? So that's going to be really interesting. Now it's balanced out a little bit, but, like, dude, you're going to try to win the SEC with, like, a bunch of white basketball players? Good luck.
Well, that'll be a conversation for a different day. I will say this too. Rolling through this, and let's get to the Creed stuff. I'm excited for A&M Notre Dame a lot. I'm very excited for LSU USC because I think LSU is going to whip their ass. I wish they would have flipped Florida and Miami. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah,
really good opportunity for Florida to open with a win there. Like two coaches that have a very, very good shot to open with a very big win for the season and also for their tenure at A&M with A&M and Mississippi State.
Think of the dominoes there. If Cam Ward, who, you know, ends up at Miami, if Hugh Freeze had opened up the checkbook a little bit, maybe we're talking about Cam Ward at Auburn. Instead, he's at Miami and now a chance to go into the swamp. But that line is right around 2.5. Like, it's
weird.
It's almost kind of a pick 'em. So, you know, but I'm with you. Like, Napier knows the back end of that Florida schedule is absolutely brutal. And remember what happened last year. They won early. They impressed us. They were like 6-2. We're like, hell yeah, Florida. And then, or not 6-2, 5-2, but then they fell off. That could very well happen again this year. But this is almost like, I don't want to say a must win, but it basically is. Like, he really needs to win this one.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. We've talked about actual football for quite some time. Creed. A hell of a comeback. We were on this bandwagon before, I think, most people, and I'm fired up about it. I asked you before the show, let's compare Creed songs to the SEC. You gave me 3. Do you want to start or you want me to start?
Yeah, so I'll give you my first one. We'll start here. This one's easy. Kalen DeBoer, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Because look, I mean, this is it. This is what he came to the SEC for. Bama fans, we're not We're not selling you on it's a transition year. We're selling you on we're going to pick this thing right up where Saban left off. Are you ready? Let's go. And really, this also goes for Kalen DeBoer. Are you ready, dude? This is the SEC. This isn't Indiana or the Pac-12. Like, are you ready for this?
Yeah, and I want to remind everyone again. Oh, you know what? Seamless transition. I'll give you my first one. What if? What if Kalen DeBoer is the right hire? What if? What if Kalen DeBoer is the right hire? Because here's the thing that people seem to always forget about when we talk about Kalen DeBoer. He was coaching in a national championship game 4 calendar months ago. He was 25-3 in his first 2 years at Washington. He beat Sark twice. He beat Lanning 3 times. He's 5-0 against those two, who a lot of people thought should have been the top 2 targets for Bama when they were replacing Saban. I have been admittedly pessimistic and a little bit hesitant to put all my eggs in that basket. Listen, Saturday, August 31st, Bama kicks off at 7. At 6:50, I will be fully convinced that Bama's going undefeated and win a national championship, lock the fucking gates, all the above. But I will say this: schedule's brutal. Schedule's absolutely brutal. But dude, what if he comes in? What if he does have the right hires? What if all of college football Twitter and social media who dogged this hire, like the people that know football have been like, this is a good hire. Like, but what if all those people, all the fans that were just like have wanted this dynasty to die so quickly, what if they're all wrong? Because usually the public is on stuff like this. So, and what if Ryan Williams comes in and is like, the best part of that offense and Jalen Milroe takes a step forward? I think everyone also very much assumes that Jalen Milroe is the ceiling has been met, but I think the ceiling that people put on him was already too low, and they had it on him before the season started.
I go the other way on what if Bama loses at Wisconsin? Feinbaum will be your radio that Monday.
Yeah, I think they're going to have 4 losses, but we'll get to that another time. What's your next one?
The next one, this one was kind of easy because I was singing it the other day. One, it's Kirby Smart. Come on. He's with Saban gone, why hold down one to give to another? I mean, this is it.
My brother.
Yeah, like Saban's gone. Now it's Kirby. Like, it's funny. Yeah. Somebody was doing the other day, like, hey, rank the best college coaches. Like, okay, Kirby. It's like,
yeah,
like Harbaugh's gone. It's like, okay, like really, this could be now that with the playoff expanding, it opens the door for more SEC teams. But really, like, the door is open here with Saban gone. If Bama cannot sustain the success with DeBoer, like, what if Kirby takes this thing and keeps rolling? And they, the whole thing where they were going for the 3-peat. What if they have another one of those the next 3 years? Like,
yeah,
it could happen. And Kirby and Georgia, and you're front and center.
This could easily be like, I remember watching this SNL skit in like '93. It's the Bears, that skit.
Yeah.
And they had Michael Jordan on, and I remember they panned to Chris Farley, and he goes, I don't think we're talking a repeat, a 3-peat, or even a 4-peat. We're talking a minimum 8-peat. And I was like, and everyone laughed because it's like a ridiculous thing to say. And then you look up at the end of that, and it's like, okay, they won 3 in a row. He played basketball for 2 years, or baseball for 2 years, and then he came back and they won 3 more. So the only 2 years they didn't win, he won 6 out of 8, was when he wasn't there. I think that's the kind of thing we're going to look up with Kirby at this thing, because I just, it's going to be tougher with the SEC, but I don't see Georgia being a team that wins less than 10 games ever. I just don't. Like, it'd have to be a massive drop off.
And doesn't he get a little room for error now? Like last year, he loses to Bama, and boom, you're out. You're not in the playoff.
Yeah.
With the expanded playoff, you got room for error here. And even if you slip up in an SEC title game, you're still in the playoff and still win a title.
Jeff Rollins makes a good point. Says, what if Bama is back to the late 90s glory? Which is an interesting comment to make, because in the very last year of the late 90s, in 1999, they went 10-3, beat Florida twice, and also won the SEC championship. So I hope you're right, Jeff. I ain't ever lost anything in my life, Tyler.
Hey, let me ask you this. I had some Oklahoma fans asking me about, because they get Alabama before the Iron Bowl. And they were saying, like, is this the first time Bama's had, like, it seems like Bama's always got a cupcake before the Iron Bowl. Chattanooga, Georgia State. Like, it's always somebody like that.
Everyone does.
But I forgot from like 02 to 06-ish, LSU played Bama the week before the Iron Bowl. Almost
it was
every
actually
week.
opposite. They played. It was LSU, Mississippi State, and then Auburn. That was the whole schedule. That was when they played 11 games too. But it was always that route. And it sucked because it was. I mean,
But those years they played LSU, it was Mississippi State before that. In 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, Bama and LSU played, and then the Iron Bowl. And every one of those years, LSU was ranked either like top 10 or at least top 15. Like it was, those are the years where LSU was winning. Like they were winning that rivalry with Bama almost all those years.
I think Bama beat the shit out of them in 2002, and then 2005 was 2005. You actually are right because that was Georgia Auburn. I was in Athens for that, and LSU played Bama. Went to overtime. Bama was undefeated, and Jamarcus Russell hit somebody for a touchdown, won like 16-13 or something like that.
From 03 to 07, LSU won 5 straight against Bama.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. What do you got for your next one? Or is it my turn? It's my turn. Let's see here.
Yeah.
How about that sounds kind of lame. You know what? I'll use the same song. One for Florida, and there was a reason why. There's a line in the song One from Creed where he goes, I feel angry, I feel helpless. There's nobody in the conference that has those emotions more in tune on a daily basis than Billy Napier. Like nobody feels more angry and more helpless than Billy Napier with that schedule and everything that's happening. Man,
is he saying don't try to change my mind?
I probably too, because I think he also likes what he has down there. Like I think everyone has shit on Florida for so long. I said this morning on radio. I was like, I've kind of become this like closet Florida fan because I want Billy Napier. I think he's a good dude. I think like it's not like Mullen, where Mullen was like not doing the job well, or Harsin, where they were like not doing the parts of the job they need to do and then like rubbing it in everyone's face. Like Napier's working his ass off. He's doing all the right things. He's just got a fucking uphill battle, man. And also people forget this. Like it wasn't like Florida ran roughshod through like the SEC in the 2010s, but like Tennessee and Georgia in comparison over the last 20 to 30 years during that stretch, historically bad, just historically bad. Like Tennessee had like 5 different coaches. Georgia was Georgiaing all the time. And they couldn't really capitalize on it. And now you look at it and it's like, oh my God, how the tables have turned. So somebody said that's Willie Gray says Florida should be 1 because that's probably their win total. That's really good.
I was going to give them one last breath because this is literally his one last breath. Billy Napier. And how does this line work? Let's just bench Mertz and put in Lagway.
Kinda. That's not bad. Dude, anything where you can end with vowels, that's all Creed is. All right, give me your third and final one.
I'm excited to see DJ Lagway, though. I think that's his saving grace. When Sark had that crappy year 2 at Texas, the one saving grace was Arch is coming in.
Yeah.
I think that should be Billy Napier should be selling that to the Florida fans. Go, if you fire me, DJ's gone, right? Lagway ain't staying around here. So, that's the one saving grace. Now, he's got 5-7. Can you give me 5-7, if not 6-6?
Dude, here's the deal. I keep saying this. Me and my buddy George were talking about this. He's a diehard Florida fan. And I think I'll give you 2 examples. Bama could be really good and only win 9 games. Florida could be really good respective to where their ceiling is and only win 4 to 5 games. That's how difficult that schedule is. But I'll tell you this, hot take, I think Florida starts the season 4-0.
No, they again, like I keep going back to, they have to, because they're not going to win a game later in the year. They have to go 4-0. By the way, shout out Evan Grimes. He said, I've got the coldest Twitter profile pic. It's me and Lil Flip. Game over.
Is that what that is?
Oh, yeah. And in that cup is a cup of lean or purple drink, as we
I don't
say.
love the way you said that.
My last one is
lean.
My last one is I'm going with My Sacrifice, and it is Sam Pittman. And why is it My Sacrifice? Because he may have hired his successor in bringing in what? Bringing in Bobby Petrino. I almost feel like if the offense is good and they still lose games, Sam Pittman will be fired. And there is a world where Bobby Petrino could be elevated back to Arkansas head coach if the offense is really good, but they're losing games.
That'd be tough. That'd be really tough. Okay, I'll give you my next one. I already said what if. You said are you ready? One we already did. Here's a quick one. What's this life for? Like, what the fuck? Just Vandy. You know what? I will say this. I am starting the process of being irrational enough and delulu enough to tell myself that Vandy's going to be better than people think because they got Diego Paella or whatever his name is. Paella. It's a Spanish dish that takes a very long time to eat. So if you ever go to a restaurant and you order it, you better get an appetizer. Otherwise, you and your significant other are going to get into a very, very big fight about it. Anyway, here's another one. You said Sam Pittman's was my sacrifice. I got my own prison. Because here's the thing, like he kind of did all of this to himself, right? Like he comes in the first year, he's 3-7, but they knocked off somebody. I think it was Mississippi State in week 2. They shouldn't have. Yeah, right.
Early, didn't they? Like that was a big win, right?
So Mississippi State had just beaten LSU, and then they had Arkansas come in, and Arkansas beat them at home, and then they win 9 games.
Wait, when did Arkansas beat Texas? Was that Pittman's first year?
2021.
Okay, it was the next
second year. So they win 9 games in 2021. By the way, let's not forget, not only beat Texas, but beat the shit out of Texas. They took Bama down to the wire. They beat Penn State in a bowl game, like a New Year's Day bowl. Like it was a very, very impressive year, but expectations kept getting bigger. And if you remember this too, this is one thing I think that was working against them was at Arkansas, there's time to pull for everything, right? Like 12 months out of the year, they have something to pull for. And there's only one show in the state. It's just them. There's no pro teams. So you have like football season. Then, if that doesn't work out well, you got basketball still. Basketball made a couple of Elite Eights. And then you look at baseball season, like they're usually in contention. But like, I think the ire of the fan base was like, okay, we made it to the Elite Eight and you get knocked off. You're the number 1 overall seed in baseball. Like, this is your year for Omaha. You got the player of the year, that pitcher or whatever. And then you lose in the Super Regional. It's like, fuck. Now we got to go to football season. And our expectations are high. And you only win 7 games. And I think it started this cycle of like, some anger from Arkansas fans that are like wanting to win and they want to win now. And he did all that. And then he only won 4 games last year. And that was when he was returning what people thought was going to be the top, backfield combo in the SEC. He's done all that. The expectations were super high. And now he's got Petrino as his OC. So if it doesn't work, it's going to fall on Pittman. That's why I said my own prison.
Well, and what was he known for? It was offensive line play at Georgia. Yeah. He comes over and, dude, how was your O-line so bad? Like, this is your bread and butter. So yeah, he created his own prison.
They ranked 10th or worse in all 4 in the conference in all 4 major offensive statistical categories last season. It was awful, just awful.
I have a few honorable mentions if you want me to throw those in.
Yeah, do that.
So Higher is the name of the song, but I go with the full chorus is Can You Take Me Higher? And to me, this is Lane Kiffin.
Ooh, I was close on that one.
You've been great at Ole Miss. And I'm going to put Eli Drinkwitz on here too. Y'all both went 10, double-digit wins last year.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Can you take us higher? Ole Miss can get to the playoff. Eli Drinkwitz proved to me last year wasn't a fluke. Do it again. Take me higher. So I think both those guys, that's the biggest question on both those teams. Like Lane Kiffin especially, you've always been the bridesmaid, dude. Can you be the bride? Because you may not get a better chance than this with what you have in your arsenal at Ole Miss.
I took Hugh Freeze. And it was kind of a cop-out. It was the last one I picked, to be honest. But it was mainly because you got that recruiting class. You brought in all this stuff. I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of man and what kind of leader of men Hugh Freeze is, because don't love his past. Really, like you have like people like Bo Wallace like openly calling him a hypocrite. And Bo Wallace is an idiot, but you have a checkered past for sure. I didn't love what he did in the bowl game. You had a chance to not have a losing season. You were playing a Maryland team that was not great, and they didn't have a starting quarterback, and you got boat raced. So he's like, oh, that game didn't matter. I was recruiting. I want to know that if they are going to take a next step for one, and if they don't, is he going to be full of excuses and horseshit, or is he going to actually take the program higher? So that's the one I had for that one.
I just don't know why you could put your chips all in on Peyton Thorne. Like you could have brought in another quarterback. Keep in mind, at LSU a couple years ago, Brian Kelly had Miles Brennan, who was expected to be the guy, 6-year senior starter, and he still went and got Jaden Daniels from Arizona State. This year, he's got Garrett Nussmeier. Everybody's expecting him to be really good. He still went and got AJ Swan, who started multiple games in the SEC at Vanderbilt. Like, go get somebody who has started elsewhere. Instead, he's going to ride with Hank Brown and Holden Gerner and these dudes who've never played, real SEC ball. If Peyton Thorne sucks, there is no plan B. You're going to have to throw one of these inexperienced kids out there.
I think he's high on Walker White. It is odd in this day and age of football to watch Auburn because Auburn is like they're flat like Hugh Freeze is flat out like, I got time, baby. I got nothing but time. It's like Master P's line and Gone in 60 Seconds, like, ain't got nothing but time, baby. I don't know if that's true because I think he thinks it's like we're gonna bring in this young recruiting class. And I love the way that he's attacking it because it's different than everyone else, and they're not gonna go to the portal only. But yeah, I mean, that's an odd way to go about it. What's your other honorable mention?
I did
2 more.
Yeah, I did with Arms Wide Open, and I did it for Mike Elko because he kind of secretly – Lane Kiffin brought in all the big headliners in the transfer portal, right? Mike Elko and A&M kind of brought in a lot of sneaky under-the-radar guys, including that defensive end from Purdue, Nick Scorton, I think is going to be awesome. Like, people are going to get to know his name because he's going to be a double-digit sack guy in the SEC this year. But Mike Elko kind of said, look, we're rebuilding this thing. Jimbo's gone. We'll still do NIL. We'll still pay for recruits and all this. But, hey, portal's open. Arms wide open. Come on in. And I think A&M, it's funny. I'm starting to see some of these early preseason rankings, Marler, and I'm seeing A&M pop in there, 24, 25. We know game day's already going to College Station week 1. Like, they might be the like of every year where we always talk big about A&M and they never live up to it. This might be a year that Elko is the right guy at the right time, and they might actually be 8-4 this year, or maybe, if things go right, 9-3.
Dude, my favorite comment on this entire offseason has been from our buddy Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered. He said this a couple times. I said it on our show a while back, and he said it this week as well, which is like, why don't we just let A&M overachieve for once? Like, why don't we just let them? Like, why do we put all these expectations on them, and then they fail immediately? So I'm excited about A&M because, like, you and I talked about this off air the other day. It's like people close to the program think they're ahead of schedule, and they're confident going into the year, which I think is different. I will tell you this: I used a different one for that song, same exact idea though, and I used Ole Miss with Arms Wide Open because I've continued to say this. There's two teams in the country that have shown you nonstop that they are all in on this season. And this season especially, and it's Ole Miss and Miami. And that schedule for Ole Miss is really, really, really manageable. I think it'll be really interesting. Dude, here's the other thing too. If they can win 10 games, I think it would probably be best for them to not get to Atlanta. But if they can win 10 games, not get boat raced in their 2 losses, like last year when they lost to Bama 24-10 and they lost to Georgia badly. But if they can do that and just get to the playoff, I don't think that there's a worse nightmarish of a matchup for a lot of teams than Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. Yeah, the offense and what he can do and scheming guys over, that's going to be awesome.
And I keep saying take their 2 toughest games, Georgia at home and then at LSU. Give them losses in both of those. They're 10-2. Sure. By manage of tiebreaker, Georgia's probably going to Atlanta, and then who else you want to do in there? Maybe it's LSU, maybe it's Alabama, maybe it's Missouri, because remember, there's no East-West anymore. It's just the 2 best teams. Georgia, it may behoove them to lose those games, not go to Atlanta, get an extra week of prep time for your playoff. Now, again, you won't get the bye, you get an extra playoff. But what nobody's talking about is the loser of the freaking SEC championship game doesn't get a bye either. You got to go play the next week if you get the playoff. And there's a scenario, I keep throwing this out there, that we're going to get multiple 10-2 teams, and a team goes to the SEC championship and loses, and they're 10-3. They're going to take 10-2. Ole Miss is going to jump them. They're going to get in the playoff, and 10-3 loser of the SEC championship is out. Like, these are real scenarios because we did this stupid cockamamie asinine agreement that all 4 conference champions just moved to the front of the line, where we can have a 7-5 Big 12 champ this year that jumps ahead of several 10-2 SEC teams.
But isn't that fun in March? Isn't that fun when you get an Ivy League winner and they upset Auburn 14-3 seed? Like, no, it's not the same thing. It's so weird.
Even the Ivy League team gets a 9 seed, they don't move up to a 1. They don't just automatically jump to the front of the line. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no, I think, and it's weird. It's so weird to think about how all this could change 1 year to 1 year. I'll say it, and Evan Grimes knows it. I've said to him before, and so and Willie Gray too. If this was last year and it was a 12-team playoff, I think Georgia wins the national championship. And I also think that in Atlanta, when Bama played them, they would have rested all 5 of those guys that were injured in that game. Just bottom line, they would have more on the line. Either way, I have arms wide open with Ole Miss. They have brought in a ton of portal talent the last few years. Kiffin has been dubbed Portal King. I think that they're going to be a dangerous team. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then my last one, this one sucks to end on, but it's my last one.
Are there more Creed songs?
Children, don't stop dancing. Believe. Dude, that was when I finally decided to jump on board with, like, all right, maybe Creed kind of sucks. This is terrible.
So it's funny, real quick. I was talking with our rock music PD today at our radio stations, and he was saying how cool it is how both Creed and Nickelback both went from they were super cool, had all these hits, to you listen to Creed, and they suck, to now it's like, oh my God, they're selling out on tours again, and they've come back around. He said that the band to watch that's currently in the middle of this, they're on the downslope. He said, give them 10 years and they're going to be cool again. It's Imagine Dragons.
Oh yeah, dude. Imagine Dragons had some good songs, but it was also they did. Like I remember telling this to somebody, and I wasn't ashamed of it when it happened. But I remember like when I was like just starting out at STS, and I was like still doing my comedy, and I was like, there was that line that was like talking about now I'm smiling from the stage, and you were something from the nosebleeds. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Oh yeah, Imagine Dragons. You get it. And then ESPN kept shoving them down our throats. And it was because it was that. And then it was, what was the one song that was so bad from Fall Out Boy? And it was like,
Thanks for the Memories.
No, it wasn't Thanks for the Memories, but I think it was something like Memory. Something like it was like,
it was for centuries. Yeah. Remember me for centuries.
So awful. I think it's a good call, though. All right, I have this one, though, as Don't Stop Dancing because, the boas down there, College Station, just whoop, whoop. A lot of fun times on there. All right, that is enough of the show. Gordy, before we get out of here, and I've got one message after Gordy leaves to the rest of the audience listening, but tell them where they can find you. I appreciate you joining us. We'll do this again, obviously, several times. Oh, you're going to media days, right?
Oh yeah, we're booked in. We were the first people in to request a table and all that. So we are.
What kind of room you got going? You wanna possibly set up a thing like last year or what, bro?
So I think our buddy Dan Matthews is going to be traveling with us this year. So
nothing, Dan.
I mean, maybe a cot. Maybe we can get you something nice on the floor, something like that.
We'll talk about it.
But yeah, LockedOn SEC. We're talking all things SEC and having some great guests on. We've had a bunch of players on the last few weeks. We had Taylor Green, new Arkansas quarterback. We had Chris Brazzell, the wide receiver for Tennessee, transferred over from Tulane. I think he's going to be awesome for them with Squirrel White and all those other guys they have. And just this past week, we had Nick Anderson on, wide receiver from Oklahoma, who set the freshman record last year for most touchdowns in a season at Oklahoma with 10. He scored the game winner against Texas, if you remember that one. So he's awesome. I've seen some mock drafts that already have him slated as like the third best wide receiver in next year's draft. So like, Oklahoma, like they're going to score points. I don't know if they'll get stops, and their schedule's brutal. But Nick was really cool, and so if you guys get a chance, check it out. We got some more players joining us the next couple of weeks as well. So check that out. LockedOn SEC.
Awesome, dude. Well, we appreciate it, and I'm going to finish up here without you, but make sure you check that out. And what's that?
Before I leave, are you going to talk about me? Is that why I have to jump out here?
No, I'm going to talk about Harrison Butker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wish me luck. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon. All right, listen up, guys. That was an awesome episode. We had a lot of fun. This was a very long episode. I don't think we're going to do a Friday morning episode. Actually, no, we're doing a Friday afternoon happy hour episode as of right now with Message Board Geniuses. Should have some fun there. We have this idea to do a show where we have like kind of what they already do with the message board stuff, and then do like our favorite tweets of the week. Which is that's tentatively scheduled tomorrow, I believe, around 3 p.m. I'll obviously post about it in the meantime, so be sure you're looking out for that. last thing I'm going to say, and this is just I love you guys. You guys are a fantastic audience. I love that we get to talk about stuff. And you guys, one of the things that has been unique to our show over the past several years is we've always been super, super open and transparent about different stuff. And sometimes, admittedly, to I think what might be in hindsight to a detriment and things like that. But we've always had a open door policy with discourse and stuff. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a healthy thing. I saw this all week. People have been losing their minds all week on social media. And it seems like for this week more than others recently, which is really saying something. I just want to remind everybody. So the Harrison Butker thing, it's always okay to disagree with anyone's opinion. I didn't agree with mostly anything he said, just to be honest. But also, he said it in a forum of people where I think that I don't agree with what he said. Obviously, a lot of people on social media didn't agree with what he said. But we weren't his audience. I think the intended audience he was talking to was probably the audience that would be in agreement with some of the things that he said, which is why you didn't have an uproar or see anything of people storming out, leaving, having some massive negative reaction to it, like we've seen with a bunch of other college graduations across the country for a number of reasons, or one in particular that we're not going to get into. But I just want to remind everyone, okay, it's an election year. It's a crazy year. We're 5 months from it. It's only going to get more heated and worse on social media. It's always okay to not hate someone just because of who they vote for. It's always okay to have different opinions. What sucks is when we stop having discourse about it and can't have any conversations about it. So I just want to remind everyone, listen, we're not going to always agree on stuff. You clearly aren't going to always agree with the things that I say. You guys check my Twitter mentions, and that's a daily basis thing. But I did want to talk about that just for a second, because I think it's it feels like it's somewhat getting out of hand, where people are just really, really at each other's throats. And just pace yourselves. It's a long year. It's okay to have your own opinion. It's okay to have other people have their own opinions. And it's always okay to accept people for just having different opinions and then talking about it. And also talking about it, they don't have to change your mind. So there you go. That's my little soapbox that was unnecessary and all that kind of stuff. And the last thing I'll say is this: I can't hold this one in. The NFL decided they were going to make sure they distance themselves from some of the content in his speech. It's the same organization that let Deshaun Watson get a $250 million guaranteed contract. And it's the same organization that saw the footage of Ray Rice knock his fiance out on an elevator, drag her by the hair to the room until she became conscious again. When they saw the tapes and know they were the only ones that saw the tapes, decided they would only have a 2-game suspension because they were under the impression no one would ever know. That's the organization we're also dealing with. So let's not paint them out to be the heroes just yet. Love you guys to see Unfiltered. This was a great week. This was a really, really great week. So I wanted to say thank you to all you guys. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Evan, best of luck on all the lacrosse prop bets. Hit me up with some. You guys have a fantastic night, a fantastic weekend. Tune in tomorrow. Love you guys so much, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks, Willie.